What's up, guys? How's it going? Glad to be back. Tuesday night hangout, as regularly scheduled. Only a couple minutes late, but that's par for the course. So for people hanging out that took the over on the bet, I didn't see actually what time people were taking, but I'm sure that I hit the over on that one. So my apologies. That was me. I don't know. I was telling Anthony this before we started the show here. I don't know exactly what day it is, nor do I know exactly what time it is either because of the super early flights, the travel, everything else. Shout out to Nolan Smith and his crew, though. Incredible golf tournament in Savannah, Georgia that we got to take part in. Also to Gene and Zach for getting us on at Belfair. You guys are the best. Being able to see several of you guys as well. PJ meeting at the clubhouse. Really awesome weekend. And I will say my only one thought there, as we got the Ant-Man, Anthony DiBona, here in the house, shout out to you, sir, is maybe Nolan does this on a different week next year. But if this is the only week that works, that's okay. There's a lot that's been happening recently. It didn't happen necessarily for yesterday. We're all waiting on pins and needles, like what are the Eagles going to do, moves like that. But Howie Roseman has made a few signings, as well as a couple other bits of pieces for the NFL news and Maxx Crosby. Everybody's seeing that on the thumbnail. It's absolute nuts, as I guess it is normally this time of year.
It was crazy, right? Because they essentially took the first day off, right, of like the legal tampering window or whatever you want to call it. And we all talked about how that was kind of what was expected, right? Like we didn't really expect them to make any huge, big signings or trades immediately outside of a potential AJ Brown thing, but whatever. We're not going to talk about that now. There's so much more to talk about. But now it's like approaching maybe like 2 or 3 hours before we're about to stream. And all of a sudden, Howie Roseman woke up, right? And they signed Tariq Woolen. They signed 2 tight ends and Johnny Mundt. And unfortunately, they brought back Grant Calcaterra, but I'm sure we'll get into that. And now the biggest bombshell of them all is the Maxx Crosby news, right? Where that trade has fallen through. It seems like for medical reasons, the Ravens did not feel comfortable going through with that. So it seemed like nothing was really happening involving the Eagles. And now they made 3 signings, and who knows if they're going to be back in the race for Maxx Crosby now.
It's wild. I kind of joked about it on Twitter or X if people were following me there, but I was like, how he called in Big Dom, didn't he? He called in Big Dom, making sure this trade doesn't go through. As you said, it's official that, Max not passing his physical. But it does bring into question, like, is there a play to be made? The Eagles were apparently interested here. And if they've already got Tariq Woolen, which we will get into, for somewhat of a prove-it deal, have we seen the official numbers? I know it was like up to $15 million for those that are joining. Tariq Woolen has officially, I shouldn't say officially, but it's like legal tampering. Usually when it comes out, it's like, okay, that's official. That's going to happen. Didn't happen for the Ravens and getting Maxx Crosby, but presumptively, Tariq Woolen will be a Philadelphia Eagle on a 1-year contract worth up to, I think the wording on that was up to $15 million.
Yeah, and that's very important. And that's what like my initial reaction to the report was, because the Eagles are still playing that compensatory pick game, right, where they lost Jalen Phillips to a massive deal that they were definitely never going to match. Then they lost several other players, that Nakobe Dean, Blankenship, Jahan Dotson. They all qualify. I believe right now it's projected to be 6th-round picks, and they all fall under that like $12 million per year or less, right? So ideally, the Eagles would want to sign a player that falls in that range, because then you would only be negating one of the 6th-round picks and not that Jalen Phillips 3rd-round pick that's projected, right? So whenever you see a contract, especially initially reported as up to a certain number, that's pretty much the agent trying to make the deal seem a lot better than it probably is in reality, right? And the fact that we're now several hours after that report and we haven't seen any of the guaranteed money or the kind of the exact contract details of what Tariq Woolen signed with the Eagles, that makes me think that it's going to be a very favorable deal for the Eagles. I'm not saying it's going to be $3 million guaranteed, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like $8 to $10 million guaranteed, and the rest is either like per game bonuses or incentives of reaching a certain amount of interceptions or a Pro Bowl, all pro, things like that. So right now it says up to 15, but I think it's probably going to be on the lower end and would only cancel out one of those 6th-round compensatory picks.
It's crazy. If they couldn't get Jalen Phillips, which $30 million is good for Carolina, that just it wasn't going to happen. So I've had people ask about that. I'll probably talk about it more in depth, and we may get into it here, but there is lots of other things. I'll probably talk about that in the next upcoming video, which will probably drop tomorrow, assuming that there's not just crazy chaotic news, because if it's getting something in and then there's a change and the Eagles sign somebody else, and it may bounce it out further. But the hope and plan is to get another video out tomorrow. in the meantime, there's lots of other stuff to be talking about here. Before I get to that officially, let me just go ahead and get to a few of these super chats. Appreciate you guys as always. Also, a couple member shout outs. Let's see. There's two of those, I believe. There's Dillick, I believe, with the welcome to Let's Run It tier. Appreciate you. Shout out Dylan, Dillick. I don't know. One of those. I got close. And a few super chats as well. There's Eric with the 2. I bet Josh loves the Calcaterra signing. And there's some sarcasm. But it's not me that you should be questioning here. As great as that move is, as much as I love Grant Calcaterra or Can't Blockaterra coming back, it's Anthony DiBona you should be asking about. I'm surprised, Anthony, that you were even able to get on the stream here, because for a second, it's like, oh, hey, they got Tariq Woolen. There's some excitement, finally a move. And it didn't take very long at all to kind of insert the buzzkill. Grant Calcaterra is reportedly coming back along with a new acquisition, I guess, Johnny Mundt. I saw people say Mundt Cakes. Is that like his nickname, or is that just somebody that threw out there? I don't know. But the Grant Calcaterra one, feel free to actually hang on one second, because I know that it's going to be negative, and we're feeling that. But we got to balance this thing out. So let me just start this before we do that. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Make sure to drop a like. Make sure you're subscribed. I'm going to give away some memberships to balance it, right? So we're going to keep this
That's fair.
Even keel. You're about to get really negative, very understandably so. But we're going to give away some memberships. So congrats to individuals. There's 5 of those, and we'll do maybe a couple others. It's all random. I can't choose. The floor is yours, Grant Calcaterra.
Yeah, so I feel like Howie Roseman knew exactly what he was doing, like with as far as the way these signings were announced tonight. Because like Tariq Woolen deal, everybody was like, "Wow, that's a great deal for the Eagles." Fills a huge need that everybody was like questioning, and you kind of have your answer at CB2 on the outside, opposite of Quinyon Mitchell. That was great, right? Then he even kind of played to people like me that wanted a blocking tight end, because that's pretty much all Johnny Mundt is. He's not. I think he has, I believe it was like 103 career receptions in like 114 games. So that's less than 1 catch a game. He's essentially the complete opposite of Grant Calcaterra, where he's a really, really good blocker and won't provide anything else. So I was really pumped for that, because I'm a weirdo and I wanted to see more blocking at tight end. And then within minutes of that signing being reported, the unfortunate news came through of Grant Calcaterra returning to the Eagles. So I made the joke of from the movie The Little Rascals, when the kids like climb on top of each other to make the adult. I said that's Johnny Mundt and Grant Calcaterra trying to form a complete tight end, because Grant Calcaterra can't block. He can only catch, and even that's questionable. And then Johnny Mundt can't catch. He can only block. So together, they're kind of like a competent tight end, right? So I don't think the Eagles are done at tight end. Hopefully Sean Mannion knows how to actually play to Grant Calcaterra's strengths and won't have him pulling as a lead blocker on running plays or relying on him in that capacity. So I'm not going to harp on it too much. It's upsetting, but I'm kind of hoping that Mannion, being the offensive play caller, is going to be able to maximize whatever Calcaterra does have to offer.
So help me, if we see Grant Calcaterra out there pulling or as a lead blocker or really anything, we come back from the film reviews and, hey, Grant Calcaterra played 20 snaps. Guess how many of those were run plays? 20 snaps. What, okay. I'm hopeful. There's some extreme cautious optimism for, I shouldn't even say that. I'm just like hoping that there's, maybe he gets cut, like you say. They're not settled on tight end, but to decide, like, there's nothing that he's shown for why. And we said this, I think, as soon as it was towards the season was ending, right whenever the season ended. Well, hey, at least you'll get some better blocking tight ends, some other options, and lo and behold, your favorite player has returned. Grant, apologies, nothing personal, kind of, but maybe he figures out how to block. We'll see. They do have Mahaffey as the tight ends coach. I don't know if he can work wonders in that area, but it can't be worse, I suppose. I don't know. Yes, we did do the 5 Philly Special Show memberships. We'll do 5 more. What the heck?
Hey, now.
Try to get it back up here. A little bit more on the vibes. So shout out to you guys. But there will be other giveaways as well. I'm trying to decide what the next one will be in terms of like a signed jersey or helmet or player. I don't know if it should be Tariq Woolen yet, or we just make sure like 100% because of the Maxx Crosby situation, and we just don't know absolutely. We don't want to jinx anything. Like go, hey, here's
How about
Tariq
I pick
Woolen,
up a couple Tariq Woolen autograph rookie cards? Maybe
hey,
I'll try and find those, and we can give those away in future live streams for the people.
There we go. I like that.
Keep that. It's a little bit more conservative than a signed jersey would probably be.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, because sure as the world, we'd be like, hey, here you go, and then, oops, it's not gone
Frank
through
Gore.
now. He's
Frank Gore, the Eagles.
Yeah, I saw your tweet about that for the Ravens. No, we're not interested. We're not interested. Okay, getting to a couple of these super chats. Appreciate you guys as always. Y'all are the best. You really do make it the best community on YouTube. But seeing lots of you guys in Savannah at Nolan's golf tournament, it means the world. So it's an unbelievable blessing to have this channel, to have this community. And again, I'd never get tired of saying it, but it's all on you guys. Vanis Century, I believe, with a 5. Anthony, I know you're a Celtics fan. Ew. But what about the Phillies?
Love the Phillies. They're actually
Phillies question.
This is like a Phillies.
That's pretty
Eagles
dope.
Crossover hat.
Yeah.
Shout out to Reference Co. ReferenceCoLimited.com. If you want to use code Philly Special, 15% off. You can do that as well. They got a couple different Phillies Eagles crossover hats, even Sixers Eagles crossover hats on the website. So go check that out. That's usually the company that I wear for hats on the stream. But yes, excited for the season and looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I know people don't like that I root for the Celtics, but it's all right. We all like the Birds, right? So we can just talk about that.
We do, yes. And it's a bird stream, so we do appreciate the super chat. I'm going to get to the Maxx Crosby. I'm running through a couple of these super chats. So Kelly here weighing in on the Grant, or should say Can't Blockaterra, says he should pay to be on the team. If he continues to block at the rate that he was last year, yes, he should pay to be on the team, or quite honestly, they should just cut him and say good luck, move on to a different squad.
I mean, it's I doubt he's getting much. It's probably the veteran minimum for both of the tight ends that they signed is what I would assume, right? I doubt they were out there getting crazy offers. And it's important to keep in mind, like you mentioned earlier, I know you kind of said it jokingly, but they did sign Harrison Bryant around this time last year, and then he was eventually traded late in training camp, right? So there is a chance that, like, depending on what they do in the draft at tight end, or if they sign another veteran tight end, that Grant Calcaterra doesn't even make the 53-man roster. Maybe he shows out during the preseason. Sean Mannion doesn't think he's a great fit after seeing him in training camp, and they kind of do a player-for-player swap or a late day 3 pick in 2027 for Grant Calcaterra. So once again, I always say that I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So although it pains me to do this with Grant Calcaterra, I'm still trying to take that approach.
That's impressive, not gonna lie. I mean, of all people for Grant Calcaterra, that is pretty impressive. I'll give you props for that one. Dylan, I'm getting to these super chats in order, and I haven't seen it on my screen. Every once in a while, the stream software, it does something random. Dylan, I'm seeing your comment here saying that I missed your super chat. Dylan S 2003. I'm sorry if I missed that. I apologize. You don't have to super chat again. Don't feel like you have to. But if you want to just comment in the comment section what you said, then I'll make sure it gets up there. But that's my apologies. It's not shown up on. There's 2 screens. Long story short, and the one for mine is like running the stream itself. So if I missed it, it was not intentional. But just comment back. You don't have to super chat. Kelly, we do appreciate that one. Zarvan with the 5. Should have paid Reed. Howie didn't cook there. Tell Can't Blockaterra to kick rocks. Go Birds though. Got the it's kind of the general consensus from everybody. It seems like, oh, Dylan, yours was the first super chat for. I think it glitched. If you, I'll read it again, whatever it was, but I think it glitched for some reason. If there's a super chat before I start the stream, then I start it. It's like it resets it. So my bad. But yeah, feel free to comment and I'll get it. Okay, Zarvan, before we get there, I'm just going to go to, I think, Max real quick, because we were going to start with that. But I am interested to get the takes on Reed and Howie not cooking, and we can keep hearing the Can't Blockaterra. It's like the stream is understandably gotten a little negative, but maybe some better vibes here. So Maxx Crosby, the situation, in case you're joining, shout out to you, and you haven't been, I don't know, you've been asleep or under a rock or traveling all day, like me. Maxx Crosby is not going to the Ravens. the Ravens backed out of the trade. Initially, that was a report. Turns out that Maxx did not pass his physical, so understandable for them to do that. The Ravens are getting their 2 first-round picks back, and makes you wonder, does that leave a possibility open? Because the Eagles were very interested, and now they've kind of solved their cornerback concern. He'd have to pass a physical, so it's not like you go, obviously, oh, well, he didn't pass for Ravens, so let's just go ahead and immediately swoop in there. But if it's later down the road, maybe, or how does that affect his price? Nonetheless, Maxx Crosby is not unavailable. I don't know if that means he's available, but he's not unavailable.
It creates such a weird dynamic, and kind of like the things you could see like going throughout the league that have happened since then, right? Like you think of the Cowboys, who were like presumed to be the runner-up for Maxx Crosby in a deal. They pivoted to trading a late pick for Rashawn Gary, right? So now, like, do they back out of that deal and now try to go back to Maxx Crosby? And then what do the Packers do with Rashawn Gary? Do they just outright release him? Because he would make sense as a potential addition for the Eagles, because he would fit that being released by another team, wouldn't count towards the compensatory pick formula. But then obviously you have to think about, will the Eagles be in the running for Maxx Crosby, right? They've taken chances on players with bad medicals in the past, right? Nakobe Dean was reportedly flagged for a bad medical. Jahad Campbell fell in the draft because of a bad medical. There's been other players as well. So I don't think if the asking price is, because he's already under contract, they don't have to worry about giving him a new contract. If anything, Eagles Eric shared on Twitter that it's actually very easy to restructure Maxx Crosby's deal right now, and it would only make his cap hit, like, I believe it was like $7 to $9 million.
Yes,
or something like
seven.
that,
Yeah, I saw the 7. Yeah.
So that's like the financials of it almost don't even matter in a sense. It would just be a matter of the medical and then working out the trade compensation. Because now if you're talking about, you don't have to trade 2 first-round picks, maybe it's 2 second-round picks, or a second-round pick this year and a first next year or something like that. I don't know if they'll get a first-round pick at all now because he's been flagged by a bad medical. It could still happen, but they're in such a bad position now because it's like the Ravens could, but also to play devil's advocate, there has been times, I know it's happened in the NBA too, where a player failed the medical with one team, but then another team thought there was no issues and their doctors thought it was perfectly fine. So it could be a matter of that, where they're still able to get a first-round pick, but I don't know. Like, I certainly think the Eagles will be in the mix for Maxx Crosby now, because whenever Howie Roseman kind of sees like an imbalance in the market that he could take advantage of, like a player like Maxx Crosby, I wrote about it. It's on the PhillySpecialShow.com, how I thought it would be a bad idea to trade a first-round pick or multiple first-round picks for Maxx Crosby. But now if you're telling me the asking price starts at a second-round pick because the Raiders have no leg to stand on in negotiations and they've kind of can't really walk it back at this point. He already had literally both feet out the door. He was in Baltimore this morning and taking his physical at the Ravens team facility. So I'm not going to rule it out for sure, especially since Diana Rossini, after the Eagles signed Tariq Woolen, she said they were going to still make moves at tight end and at pass rusher, right? They added 2 tight ends right after that. They haven't made a move at edge rusher just yet. Is Maxx Crosby in that mix now? We'll see.
Jo with a member for 20 months, shout out to you, says we should go get him. Cheers. Appreciate that. I totally agree. I also saw one. Oh, it was message retracted. I'm not sure who that was, but I was going to give a shout out there, and the message was retracted. That's all. That's your prerogative. But
they got nervous.
For you. Maybe so. It was something else. But yes, it is. And we've seen, like you mentioned, the medicals and different teams viewing it some way, and others saying like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Cooper DeJean. There were a couple of people that medical there was kind of like, oh, well, there's some questions. The Eagles have had it in many guys, several situations where, the players fall later than expected because the teams do that, whether that's in the draft or free agency. But you would have to wonder, like, that the Eagles go, all right, as you mentioned there, the price, if it falls and they do have to get a medical, and they're like, well, we can work with that. It could be good enough. We're confident we can figure this thing out. So I don't know. It just makes things that much more intriguing this time of year, as you say, and especially because tomorrow, like, officially makes it official, I guess, for a terrible term there. But it's like in the past, there's usually, again, the legal tampering period, and it's all nonsense, because we talk about, like, well, they're talking about it at the combine, and basically they're working out these deals. But it's a massive, like, throwing a wrench into this thing. because out of all the players that have been available, I know Maxx is not a free agent, but you talk about just like, okay, who's available for trade, who's up for grabs, everything else. The headlines have been, and we all know this because it's gotten almost, it was ridiculous of how many times it was thrown out there, but it was Maxx Crosby and A.J. Brown, like every single day. You know, who's it going to be? Who's trading for this guy? Are they making a move? What are they asking for? Draft compensation, all this other stuff. And then once Maxx went away, then you're like, okay, hey, what's it going to be? And a lot of these other teams have moved on, obviously, because you've seen some of these signings. But you also brought up a fantastic point there. Is like, well, it's not official yet. So do we see other teams that start going, you know, maybe we do back out of our move here. I know we confirmed we would trade for a Rashawn Gary, right? I know we confirmed that we'd do this contract for X player, but if Maxx is available, maybe they're going to try to hold out and go make a play. So, yes, I believe and totally with you. Like, Howie he's calling about everyone. He's calling about every single situation. But an opportunity like this presents itself, you get a second chance, so to speak. Because I've seen lots of people, like, I'm with those as well. Like, Jaylen Phillips wanted him to be able to come back, but not for $30 million. Like, that's just way too much. But if you could do it for Maxx Crosby, for all those reasons that you mentioned, and I don't know, like, what could it take? It's all speculative here, but if it is, the price has dropped, the physical, the Raiders are now desperate because obviously Maxx wants out, but what's worse? Like you've basically planned to get him out of there. He's planned it as well. In his head, he was already wanting to get out, but it's like, I'm gone. I'm happy to be done with this organization. Oh, wait, I got to come back. Like, he doesn't want to be there. You don't want him there. It's a divorce already. It maybe hasn't officially happened, but it's done. There's no salvaging it. So now Howie can make that call and go, hey, I know this is headed south. This is going to be bad. But what is it? Is it a second round pick? Where do they fall for? It'll be a fascinating next day or two or week or however long this thing plays out.
Yeah, I don't expect it to drag on. Even like with the failed medical, I feel like the Raiders have to find some type of resolution here quickly, right? Because now the reports that were that Trey Hendrickson all of a sudden like seemed like he was going to make his decision tomorrow. But now if the Cowboys are pivoting to back for a trade for Maxx Crosby, maybe Trey Hendrickson was going to sign with the Cowboys, and now maybe the Ravens are going to sign Trey Hendrickson. So there's like so many other things. And as far as trading for Maxx Crosby, a lot of the medical kind of red flags that we've mentioned the Eagles taking a chance on were players that were in the draft, right? But just last season, Jalen Phillips, he might have been the biggest medical red flag, right? 2 like season-ending injuries in like 3 years, and the Eagles were still willing to trade a third-round pick for him. Granted, he was able to play in every game. He was fine this season, but that's a player with a significantly longer and lengthier injury history than Maxx Crosby has. So if it's simply just like, oh, he had the meniscus surgery or whatever the procedure was on his knee, and he's going to need to miss maybe a month or two of the season, I could see Howie Roseman be like, listen, that's fine. We're built for the playoffs anyway. Like, you need to take off 2 months of the regular season, no problem. We'll give you, like I said, I think they could still get a first-round pick, but I don't think it's going to be 2 at this point. I think it would probably be a first-round pick and maybe a day 3 pick if they're lucky, if not just the first-round pick, because now, like I mentioned, they're not negotiating from any point of leverage. So I think they're going to pivot to something rather quickly, and they're just going to have to find a team that's going to be willing to kind of waive that medical and move forward with the deal.
And it sets up perfectly, too. And I'm going to get to these other super chats as well. So Zarvan, I mentioned you a second ago, but appreciate the 5. I am going in order. Should have paid Reed. How he didn't cook there. Tell Camp Blockadere to kick rocks, go Birds, though. Reed, it was a lower number, maybe a little bit lower number than some of the projections. So they could have. It was a roughly, like $8 million a year, three years, $24 million, somewhere around there. Cap hit would not have been extreme at all if they wanted to. It seems like a 50-50 split. I've seen a lot of people go with the take of Reed Blankenship wasn't great, like, cool, good riddance, whatever. Other people going, yeah, but you had like one of the best defensive minds in D'Amico Ryans and his defense sign Reed Blankenship to be their starting safety. So like that tells you a lot. Did Fangio want him? Was the conversation to be had if we're trying to save elsewhere? Is it the fact that you have versatility in Cooper DeJean? And that, I think, is perhaps a big part of it, knowing maybe that Riq Woolen was in play, because now you look at it and say, okay, you got Quinyon Mitchell, Tariq Woolen, and Cooper DeJean in the slot, and if you go to base, which they usually are running in nickel, but if they do go to base, then all right, Coop, you go to safety because you want your best players on the field, and so is that safety position as worth it? Again, the $8 million is like it's pretty small in the grand scheme of things. It feels like you could have gone that direction. But you brought up this point, like, I don't know, what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, where Howie loves to maximize value. And I agree with what you said there. You were like, look, if he thinks, like, Reed, we appreciate you. You did a lot of great work for us here, but you were a UDFA, and I'm going to bet on myself again. Like, I can find a diamond in the rough, and we can get this thing figured out. So whether it's to save a couple million on the cap hit or just kind of advance this and say we're going to have Cooper DeJean play that hybrid role or wherever we need him to, I'm not, like, losing Reed Blankenship is not an extreme needle mover for me, or like, oh my gosh, the secondary is going to be broke. And that was before I could say this now. I guess, people could say, oh, I doubt that. But I can honestly say I was before we even got the Riq Woolen one. I'm like, yeah, I don't like to see Reed go. I wish him well. The exciting whites not being both in Philly. But I think they're going to be fine from that respect.
Yeah, and we talked about it beforehand. We both felt like he was going to sign elsewhere. We thought it was going to be for more money. It seemed like everybody projected him to get around 10 million or more per year. He ended up getting around 8 million, which is a little bit less than a lot of people expected. It almost reminds me in a way of how people felt about like the Isaiah Rodgers departure last offseason, right? Where it was like, wait, that's it? Like, why didn't they match that? But
that's a great
like
point.
You mentioned, it depends on what else they have planned, right? Like you mentioned with the Tariq Woolen edition, now you can use Cooper DeJean at safety and base downs for the 15 to 20% of snaps that they play in that, whatever it is. Because we saw them experiment when we were at the training camp practice, right? With Cooper DeJean at safety. So it's something that they've done in the past, but now you don't have to move Cooper DeJean out of the nickel. He could stay in that slot corner spot and be fine. So now do they feel like because they added Tariq Woolen on the outside and with his range and his length, like they don't need as great of a safety to kind of splurge and spend $8 million. Maybe they feel like they can get by with re-signing a Marcus Epps or one of these potentially cheaper options in free agency. Or maybe they sign a Jaquan Brisker where they think he might get the same amount of money as Reed Blankenship. And in that case, they prefer Jaquan Brisker over a Reed Blankenship. Or there's several other names, Jalen Hawkins, Geno Stone, Nick Cross, guys that have starting experience that could be a little bit cheaper than what Reed Blankenship made. So it's kind of in like wait and see mode, but I understand the frustration with them not re-signing him. But I think there's a plan in place at safety.
And tune in a couple days, I'm sure, whenever Anthony DiBona posts his 500 targets the Eagles can go after. But
listen,
I say it every time. But
had 5 players at tight end, at safety, at edge, and at corner. Tariq Woolen was not on that list, but Johnny Mundt was one of the 5.
I was about to say, so, give you credit for being on it. I mean, every single time, like the vast majority on this, I know are. But if you are not following Anthony, you should be at DiBona NFL on Twitter /X, whatever we're ever going to call it. But and the PhillySpecialShow.com, of course, checking out the articles because it's just it's ridiculous, but it's why you're the GOAT. So shout out to you, sir.
Appreciate that.
Dylan, by the way, the comment was previously from that super chat, which I'm getting to as quickly as I can for these, but was saying before about no way we run it back with Jake Elliott again, right? And we probably will. We probably will.
Yeah.
Now he can save himself if he makes some field goals early in the season, but the leash has to be unbelievably short. But yes, like if you're already saying like, oh, they're going to bring in a new kicker and get somebody else, they might bring in a kicker to appease the masses to go, oh, look, it's a kicker competition. But it ultimately won't be until Jake misses this upcoming season and has struggles. That would be, to me anyway, what it takes to have them finally pull the plug.
Yeah, I feel like he just makes too much money, and they would take too much of a dead cap hit to absorb for a kicker at the end of the day, right? Like I understand his struggles, but they're going to just give him another chance to fail on the field. It might not be what teams want to see or what the fans want to see, but I do think they'll bring in probably like an undrafted free agent or somebody like that to compete during training camp, and I'll put compete in air quotes because I don't know how much of a competition it actually would be, but they're going to try and put some pressure on Jake Elliott and see if he can kind of step up.
Hopefully he can, Maybe we'll find out he was injured again, like 2 seasons ago. And I kind of bought 2 seasons ago just because there was a little bit of some people going back and like sharing the videos of his kicking. And I don't know, like I don't have an eye for this, but just seeing other people like the routine, the way that he was kicking, the follow through, stuff like that. Like maybe he was favoring, so fine, like give it the benefit of the doubt. But this past season, like, sorry, he's the most inaccurate kicker in the league for being the second highest paid. So not going to cut it. Z Taylor with a 5. I've been seeing a lot of, you were just saying, the Jaquan Brisker rumors. Other names seen floated is bringing back CJ GJ. General thoughts on safety with Reed gone. Kind of went over the general thoughts on safety, but as far as CJ Gardner-Johnson, I did see Zach Berman list him as his thought potential. He also said that he kind of give some credence to maybe not the best locker room vibes, but just in terms of productivity, CJ's been a potential guy. I just don't think that one's happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening because for reasons like off the field that I feel like many people have mentioned at this point, but it would be fun to see a secondary with the players that they already have. And then you're adding a Tariq Woolen and a CJ Gardner-Johnson back into the mix who are not afraid to talk trash. Both players are very
Not one
feisty
bit.
on the field. So that would definitely be like, it's already a kind of a tone-setting defense in Philadelphia, but that would kind of bring it to another level if they brought both of those players to Philadelphia.
Would be a lot of fun. Flipping the bird with a 5. How was the golf event, Josh? Howie on the phone for Crosby with question marks. Golf event was awesome. Mentioned that a second ago. But yes, if you have not been, Nolan does it around this time of year. I'm going to ask Darren to do it a little bit later next year. But even if it is, I'll still go. Even if it's this time of year, but missing a little bit of news and can't do necessarily shows on the road. But it was a blast. I've mentioned it multiple times, but Nolan Smith's Foundation supports the kids in the area of Savannah. All of it, all the proceeds go to that fund. Tons of money raised. It's always great to be able to play golf in some good weather, so that's the added bonus and added element. But it's supporting a fantastic cause. Getting to see Nolan hang out, took a shot with him. By the way, I was underestimating what we were taking a shot of until we did, but I survived. It's a little early, a 9 a.m. tee time, and getting offered shots that quickly. But the golf game got better, so sometimes you just need to relax a little bit. But it was a blast, man. So if you've not, for everyone out there, if you've not been, consider it. It's around this time of year, like I said, and it is supporting a great cause. So get you a foursome, or heck, you can go as a single individual, and they'll get you paired up. But mark the calendar; it'll be next year around this time. Stretch with a 5. I didn't see a comment, but appreciate the support. Thank you for that. Justin, what's up, man? Got a 10 bomb here. Says, do you think the Woolen signing deters drafting a corner this year? If not, who would you like? I would love Keith Abney. And as far as tight end, I think they draft 2 this year. Hopefully Stowers and Klein.
Yeah, I feel like they're still going to draft a tight end. I don't know if it would be 2 at this point, but with 1-year deals, you don't really let that necessarily impact your draft like ideas, right? Because you're still going into the draft thinking you want to go best player available. That's usually what Howie Roseman does. But he'll also, if it's like a tie, he'll lean towards the need, right? Like he went with Quinyon Mitchell, whatever, other areas. But then he went with Jod Campbell when people were like not sure if that was a need because of Nakobe Dean potentially returning. So there's going to be options for them. I don't think corner is going to be in play in the first round now because you simply don't want to just waste a pick. I know with Jahad Campbell, they kind of did, but he did play for like the entire first half of the season. So he did play. He did have a role, and even then, there was some place to kind of get him on the field. If the rookie cornerback that you spend the first round pick on, if you're fully healthy, he's not going to see the field unless you're in dime, which is not enough of a snap percentage to warrant a first round pick on. So I still think
we better not be running a lot of dime. That's it.
Offensive, yeah, exactly. Offensive tackle, tight end, some other areas like that are kind of more in play for the first round. But I could see them taking a corner later on day 3 or even day 2, depending on who falls. But I don't see it as a viable option in the first round.
I agree. Yeah. And some people throwing this out there, like forgetting about Mukuba and things like, we're not forgetting about Drew, but like there's a second option, right? So, just
real quick, not super breaking news, but Diana Rossini said the Dallas Cowboys are not expected to re-engage in Maxx Crosby trade discussions at this time. A high-ranking source tells The Athletic.
Oh, hold up now. Okay. That's good. I just reposted it as well. So looky there, answering a question live on the stream for us. Maybe she heard. Maybe she was tuning in. See if we get AJ trade rumors. But no, I shouldn't go there. I'm sorry. We're gonna keep moving on.
Why did you do that?
Because he just always throw that out there. Captain Ireland Gaming with 1. Appreciate that. Oh, by the way, Sam Roush. That was your tight end. But if we're drafting tight ends, I know.
And Nate Borkacher, kind of like the Johnny Mundt of the draft, older player, phenomenal blocker from Texas A&M. He's another name that I really like too. So I didn't want to go fully draft mode. Free agency chaos is going on, but I'm ready to talk draft whenever you guys.
Oh, I know you are. Yes, we got this week stretch, couple weeks maybe, but I'm getting more and more excited. I will say I was watching. That was the one benefit of going on a little bit of a golf trip, not being able to make videos and catch up on the news and stuff, but having some time to watch some film. And so I was watching your boy because I was like, why is Anthony taking? You've told me already, but why is Anthony taking this guy in every mock draft that he's doing? And so
it's my guy.
I mean, he's got to be one of, if not the best blocking tight ends out there. I mean, just the way that he can handle defense. He's obviously a massive human being, so it helps to do that. But then I started looking around, and some people were going like, the arm, shorter arms, right? Because like, well, is that really that big of a deal whenever you watch him play on tape? Like I understand like all the measurements and the combine, and someone's not going to be so great because of hand size or arm length or whatever. And yes, like the vast, like holistically, it matters, but there's also the eye test, and I think we say this every single year. There's always outliers. There's always guys that you're like, look, I know that there's like maybe a little bit of something where like, oh, that's not ideal. You would prefer, obviously, for something different. But yeah, I could see. I could see why you're pretty high on drafting him. I think he was he fourth round? Was that where you had him in the last one, if I'm remembering?
Yeah, that seems to be kind of like the consensus. Some people now have him after the combine in like the top 100 range, so maybe he goes late day 2. But either way, I think he's going to be a solid player, and he would fit the mold that the Eagles are looking for as far as like a tight end that can block, has receiving upside, has the size, but you don't have to necessarily take him in the first or second round.
There you go. Keep an eye out. Anthony will be with us on draft night. So if the Eagles take his guy, then maybe that kills two birds with one stone. Pun may be intended. Does Grant Calcaterra keep his roster spot? Captain Ireland gaming with a 1. Thank you for that. Stretch Monroe with a 2. Anthony, what cards are you adding? What cards you adding to your Eagles PC?
So I have a display over there that I showed Josh. I'll share it one day eventually of a ton of different Jaylen Hunt cards. It's
nuts.
I believe it's like
very impressive.
He's only in 2 different sets as far as like, I'm not going to dive too deep into card stuff with so many people watching, but it's basically like 30 plus different variations of a Jaylen Hunt card that I have there. But I also have a Sean Mannion 1/1 autograph rookie card up there. I have a Doug Peterson autograph card from when he was playing back in the day. Howie Roseman, Sirianni autograph cards. I kind of like the obscure stuff, but I have some players mixed in as well. So it's just a fun hobby that I like to kind of do on the side, but nothing too outlandish as far as price goes, because there are some crazy cards out there. My favorite card that I have is probably a PSA 10 Brian Dawkins rookie card. So that's probably like my prized possession, because there's not many of those out there at all.
That's legit. That's big time. Interesting. I'm getting back to the super chat. Adams exploits. Josh, I love Slay, but he's done. Let him enjoy retirement. Was that a shot towards Slay, or was that? I'm not tracking. Maybe I should have gotten that. I don't know where Slay came from, but that feels totally off the wall. We haven't brought him up once.
This is not exactly a pro Darius Slay duo. That
no, not necessarily, but yeah, I mean, maybe that was what it was in reference to of sorts, like from the past of what I've said. But I don't know. Are they thinking that I'm taking a subtle shot away? Okay, well, I know I would be out on it. If you watched anything that we said back whenever the rumors and him getting signed by Buffalo, and then like, oh, he's not going to go there, so he's going to go to the Eagles. We maintain our stance. It hasn't changed. Captain Ireland with 2 more. Appreciate that. Can you give away a signed Can't Block It? Get out of here. Get out of here. We're not doing that. No. You can find him on the streets of Philadelphia. Just good luck. Go march down there. Yeah. So if anybody has it, they'll give them to you. Just take them. Give away a signed Can't Block It jersey. Oh my gosh. So I love you guys. A lot of jokesters. Devin with a 5. Raiders are in cap hell now, and since you failed a physical, there's no way anyone gives up a first rounder. It's a fair point. Like Anthony was saying a second ago. The price has significantly come down, but the Raiders are, like we just went through, and we won't rehash the exact same thing, but they have to move on. Like They absolutely have to. Different Josh. Okay, I'm sorry. This is what I get for like reading some of the chat, and we're also having this conversation. That's difficult. There's a Josh in this chat who said something about Slay, and then I took it. All right, okay, we're good. I'm on now. Ryan with the 2. Real loss was Dean. Reed has weights for ankles. Nakobe was one that, this is also a very polarizing topic, it seems like. I won't deny that Nakobe's a loss. For sure is. Huge impact in the locker room, like leader, Philly Dogs aspect, all the other stuff. He was at the Nolan's golf tournament, which was pretty cool to see. Him and Nolan went and warmed up on the range. They were about 30 minutes late, but I'm no one to talk because I'm usually late for the streams. But they were very late. But we let them go hit, and then they came back, and it was cool to see him. He kind of interacted with people, pictures, and all that. And then about midway through the round, he had to leave, and he's getting a phone call. He's like out of there, and then we find out that he's on the phone with his agent. He's about to get a deal done, and it didn't take too much longer before obviously the Raiders and. He agreed to a deal. Now, it was cool that it sounds like Dallas was like right there. And I don't know, maybe you've seen it. I don't know if it's like any sort of official report, like, he for sure chose the Raiders over Dallas. But, I mean, I'm just happy that he went that direction. And I wouldn't necessarily like knock that thought or that theory that between the two, he goes, nah, I'm not going to go to Dallas. Like, Dallas sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that was great to kind of see. I think it was Jane Slater that reported it, that it was kind of like 51-49 between the two, and he ended up going to it with the Raiders. But the fact that like his last kind of gift to Eagles fans was to kind of screw over the Cowboys in a way is pretty hilarious. And it goes back to him always talking about how much he appreciated the Eagles fans during his time in Philadelphia. But in regards to, and I don't want to rant too much on this because I've seen so much stuff on social media now and about like the loss of Nakobe Dean, and Jahad Campbell can never fill his shoes. He's terrible against the run and all this other stuff, which I think is absolute garbage, to be honest with you. And to me, Jahad Campbell, like, sure, he had like his warts throughout the season. He made mistakes here and there, but for the most part, before he got demoted, he was in the running for Defensive Rookie of the Year, right? He still finished the season with 80 tackles. He would have had well over 100 tackles with an interception, sack here, whatever. So I don't understand why people are kind of bashing him for not being the player that Nakobe Dean is. They're different players, but there is no way that you bring back Nakobe Dean, especially at that contract, after spending a first-round pick on Jahad Campbell and seeing what he did as a rookie. A lot of players as rookies, especially linebackers, don't succeed right away. Obviously, Carson Schlesinger was phenomenal as a rookie, but that doesn't always happen, especially at linebacker. So I think people are giving Jahad Campbell a little bit too much, like knocking him a little bit too much for my sake. I think he did really well given the circumstances, and I think he'll only improve moving forward. So bringing back Nakobe Dean was never going to happen, and I don't understand the outrage about the Eagles letting him walk.
100%. Yep. All the reasons that you mentioned. You can't draft a guy with that much potential, someone that Vic Fangio believes in, and say we're gonna keep him behind, like if Nakobe stays and you sign him, then obviously you're okay, that's our starters, Zach Bond, Nakobe Dean. But then you've got Jahad Campbell not getting the reps. He needs the reps. We've seen this in the past. Howie's talked about it. The guys they draft need to play. They need to be able to have the opportunity. And whether that's been veterans that they moved on from, veterans that have retired, other free agents they've decided to let walk and play the compensatory pick game. But yeah, at the end of the day, 6th-round pick, that part doesn't feel like they at least got something for it. But I've seen the takes in the comments of, but like, come on, that's all they got back. And, again, all the other areas that Nakobe can help with the locker room. But you still have plenty of leaders. You still got guys. And Howie's made it obviously evidently clear with the Jordan Davis extension that got done, which was really cool to see. I think if nothing else, to me, that maybe the biggest takeaway is like showing Jaylen Carter, like, prove it. If you really want a contract, prove it, and there's talks of and rumors of like they're trying to get something worked out. Maybe there's some strange negotiation tactics that are going on with that, but Jaylen Carter's not proven it yet. We know what he can be potential wise, but he's not proven, I'm sure, what it sounds like is probably asking for. So go get it done this year. Show the type of progression that JD did. Like, as soon as that news broke, we were on the course and talking to some other people there, and I was like, can you imagine me saying 6 months ago, Like, hey, JD's going to get a contract for what it was, $73 million in total, like a $22 million annual value around that range. Like, are you serious? And then like go even further than that. Like a year and a half ago, if I said JD's going to get it, you're kidding me. That's ridiculous, right? Because like Jordan Davis was not showing the progression. It's like every training camp, oh, he's in the best shape of his life, but kind of slip a little bit more, get overweight or be out of shape especially towards the end of the season, the long haul, and not proving it. Jordan Davis was certainly the best interior guy. Moro Ojomo was really good too, but JD, the progression that he made and the impact on the field, he was the best you had. And again, like no offense to JD, but Jaylen Carter should not allow that to happen. It should be Jaylen Carter at all times. Now, he had the injury, of course, with his shoulders, so it did play a big factor, but you still got to go out there and prove it. So I'm hoping that's the motivation it takes to go, all right, you pay JD. It will get done if he can prove it. But again, it remains to be seen so far.
Yeah, I was so happy to see Jordan Davis get that payday. I know some people were like, oh, it's too much money. Why is it so much? They weren't expecting it to be, which I understand. A lot of people thought, myself included, thought it was going to be like 17 million, 18 million, around that range. There were some other kind of comparable players that didn't have a ton of pass rush like production that kind of fell in that same category as Jordan Davis. But the Eagles are clearly betting on his upside and him continuing to get better. And it's hard not to believe that that'll happen after what we just saw last season, right? Because there were people that bashed the Eagles for even exercising his fifth-year option in the first place. They were like, oh, what has he shown to deserve a guaranteed 13 to 14 million in 2026? Like, he can only play on 2 downs. He's not even that great against the run. Like, even against the run, his numbers aren't great. Like, and now look, he was, like you said, one of their most productive and most dominant interior defensive linemen. And that's in a season that Jaylen Carter played. Like you mentioned, he had the shoulder problem and things like that. But moving forward, Jordan Davis is that core piece. And I'm not saying that they're not going to sign Jaylen Carter to a contract extension eventually. But I mentioned before free agency started how I think both sides could benefit from the Eagles just exercising Jaylen Carter's fifth-year option and just seeing what happens next year, right? Because there were the rumors that he was involved in trade talks or the Eagles receiving calls, but that could be a whole negotiating tactic, but I don't want to dive into that too much. But it just feels like coming off a season where he had the third consecutive season of lower sack totals, right? And he missed time. There's now this concern about his shoulders, like in the long term. Who knows how he's going to look like? So that's a lot of factors. And I feel like the Eagles don't want to just hand 35 million plus a year or whatever he might be asking for to him right now, coming off that season, right? Which I can't blame them for. So I could see a scenario where both sides kind of just move forward after they pick up his option before May 1st and just see how things go next season. Then you can kind of work that fifth-year option into a contract extension like they did with Jordan Davis. So we'll see what happens. But now, after making these moves, it kind of seems like the Eagles are putting a little bit more pressure on Jaylen Carter to perform, like you mentioned.
Yep. And that's I think a good position to be in, at least in the sense of like have some competition, go out there, contract years work for a lot of players, in the sense of, like, hey, go get a deal, go play well, get paid. Moro Ojomo is in the same area. I saw some people mention that, but if he does end up walking, I'll find it hard to believe that Ojomo can come back. But if at the end of the day we're saying, hey, you got a comp pick for, I don't know, like Milton Williams got a crazy bag, and we played well, but like the Eagles were never going to match that. If Ojomo fetches you like a 4th round comp pick, and you're like, okay, so we got multiple years of great production out of Mo, we drafted him for a 7th. And we end up getting a 4th back for him. Like that's the Howie math. Like that's what he lives for. It's maximizing the value and then getting a return at the end of the day and saying, cool, let's do it again. Let's draft our guys, because we talked to shout out to Zach Berman. We'll keep doing this because it was a phenomenal article. But the talking of the upper class, middle class, lower class, so to speak, of who the Eagles will pay and where that threshold is in salary, and they say we're going to pay all those top guys, a lot of them, and then a bunch of flyers. And then a bunch of draft picks, rookies, guys to contribute. And that's the way they build the roster. Some teams don't. Howie's proven it more often than not. It's a successful way to get things done. So we'll see. The Christopher Michael with a 2. Appreciate that. What package would y'all offer for Maxx now? Mentioned it a little bit a second ago. I don't know if we'd like say it officially what package it would be. But if you were Howie Roseman, or I don't know, you've got his cell anyway. So has he told you yet what he would offer?
He has not, but I know I said that I think the Raiders could eventually get a first round pick for Maxx Crosby, despite all this nonsense going on with the physical. But I feel like an offer would have to start with, especially given Howie Roseman, how he negotiates. He'll probably be like, "I'll give you a day 2 pick and I don't know, Sidney Brown or something like that," right? And just like see what they say
There
back.
you go.
So you got to start at some point, and then it could eventually be. Ideally, I feel like you would want to give up 2 day 2 picks, right? Whether it's like one this year, one next year, or both this year, since they have the 2 third-round picks, or next year they're going to have 2 third-round picks too, presumably because of the Jaylen Phillips trade, right? So that gives Howie Roseman kind of some room to operate because he knows he could expect to receive those compensatory picks in the future, which is why they were able to make some trades last season too. So that's another reason why playing that compensatory pick game is so important, because now when a player like Maxx Crosby all of a sudden becomes available for maybe less than a lot of people expected, the Eagles have a little bit more room to kind of negotiate and assets to work with. So I think some combination of day 2 picks would be ideal, but I do think that the Raiders will be able to somehow get a first round pick from somebody out there.
You would wonder, True Speak saying a first rounder, someone saying a second and a player, others saying a first round, the real Amoroso, the first and a third. So kind of, all over, but some of those saying that. If it would be interesting because the Eagles, the first round pick being later, it's not like you're super close up high in the draft like it was for Jaylen Carter whenever we had the 10th pick. I don't know. I'm with you on like the initial offer would be okay. Let's start here and then work back to something else. But would Howie be willing to give up one first? The asking price was the 2, of course. He was interested. Yes, the physical, all this other stuff drives the price down. But would he be interested to give up a first? And I saw again the comment from the first and the third. It's still fairly steep. But if you looked at it in the sense of like, okay, hey, maybe it's worth it. We give away a first. We're getting Maxx Crosby and a third to sweeten it and get the deal ultimately done. I mean, at the end of the day, you got a third-round draft pick or third-round compensation for Jaylen Phillips, right? Wasn't that is it a third? That's what you said.
Yeah, it's projected it's a third, yeah.
So third, in a way, you can kind of talk yourself into it, I suppose, and go, okay, well, there's the third for JP. We'll get it for Max. But you're still giving away a first-round pick also on top of that. I feel like that would be like almost the max at this point. No pun intended there. I did it earlier. That's not a pun.
Real quick, just on the Maxx Crosby kind of trade negotiation potential, I think the Eagles probably prefer to give up their 2027 first round pick because ideally they don't think they're going to be picking in the early to mid 20s again, right?
True,
because they think they're going to win at least one playoff game. I know it's considered a stronger draft class next year, but that's more so for the quarterbacks and things like that. So I don't know if that necessarily plays into it. But I know we don't want to spend a ton of time on this topic, but the AJ Brown potential like trade after June 1st, that would possibly factor into this negotiation with Maxx Crosby, right? Because in a world where maybe the Patriots and the Eagles have this under the table agreement that after June 1st, the Patriots are going to give them their 2027 first for AJ Brown, just hypothetically, right? Just go down this path with me real quick for 30 seconds. Now, would the Eagles be willing in March to say, yeah, we'll give you our 2027 first round pick now for Maxx Crosby because we know we're getting the Patriots 2027 first round pick in June, right? So it's like, it might sound crazy to think about, but I think trading AJ Brown is still a very realistic possibility. And if that's the case, maybe that's something that Howie Roseman is factoring in to a potential pursuit for Maxx Crosby.
I know it's all hypothetical, but that's a very interesting rabbit hole there. Yeah, because you're right. If the negotiations and they are banking on that, then essentially they're not losing a fantastic player. So we're not saying that. Obviously, AJ, if they did this, all hypothetical, but if they did, yeah, they're losing a fantastic player, but they're getting a Maxx Crosby and they're recouping the first round pick. So kind of in a way, it's almost a player for player trade, even if it doesn't actually end up being between just the two teams. It's kind of like a 3-team. Yeah, that could make all. I could see certainly Howie considering or pulling the trigger on something like that. But again, nothing official. That's a hypothetical. We're moving on. Joe with a 5. Appreciate that. Thanks for the membership. No problem. Thank you. Phillips and Dean got their bag. Can't blame them for that. Reed hurts, though. Leader and captain. Howie's still lurking. That he is. He's not done. I think we'll be okay. I get it for the Reed sentiment there, but I think they're going to be fine. They got guys. DKT with a 10 bomb. Let's go, dude. If not Maxx Crosby, could we see a trade? I don't think I've seen any. This may be the first time I've seen someone try to suggest this. I don't think so. But could we see a trade for Josh Sweat happen? I don't. That in my mind, I don't see that at all. I mean, I understand the thought, like a reunion. Oh, let's try to get somebody reunion Josh Sweat. I've kind of been of the mindset, like, if they're going to trade and it's not a Maxx Crosby, depending on where the Vikings are, Jonathan Grenard, maybe they're willing to settle for much lower because, like, look, we gotta figure out this cap situation and just move on from it. I don't know about Josh Sweat though.
Yeah, I think I saw Jake Rabati on Twitter bring up or quote tweet that I believe it was the Cardinals writer or reporter for the All City Network for Arizona, where I don't know if, like I said, I don't know how reputable this reporter is or not, but apparently when Jonathan Gannon left, Josh Sweat demanded a trade. So I haven't seen anything like that reported anywhere else from anybody else, or how valid that is. But I mean, given how he played in Philadelphia, right, and his contract structure or something like that, a lot of the probably guaranteed money has already been paid, and there's only going to be so much left to whichever team trades for him. It could be a potential possibility, but I would lead more towards like signing a Bradley Chubb whenever he gets released, or Jonathan Grenard, who's a player that's apparently available and wants a new contract. Even the Kayvon Thibodeau from the Giants, who's reportedly been available in trades. Eagles hosted him on a top 30 visit in 2022.
Been hanging out with Jalen Hurts at the Super Bowl party and Devontae Smith. So
there's I think like 4 or 5 players from 2022 that visited the Eagles ahead of the draft that eventually at some point were with the Eagles. So Kayvon Thibodeau is in that group. So if they do want to trade for an edge, those are more of the names that I would look for the Eagles.
Okay, good to know. And I think corporate pumpers being the Johnny Vernable is a trusted reporter for the Cardinals. I don't know if that was who it was for report.
I feel like that name sounds familiar. It might have been. I could try and find it.
Just giving credit where credit is due. Assuming again, I was out, so obviously I didn't see that. But okay, I thought that was the first reference to Josh Sweat. Maybe that's where it's coming from, which is understandable. If it's even a possibility, though, again, we could rest assured that Howie will call about it. Like, he'll at least check and see. Maybe there's something there. As you're checking it out, Rock Mikey with 2. Dumb question. How serious is a failed physical? It's not a dumb question. Anthony kind of went through it a little bit earlier, but some teams, to some teams, it can be a big deal, and obviously it was for the Ravens, and they back out on a trade. To other teams, it's not as much. I think because of the price that they were asking for, the Raiders, that is, were asking for, you don't want to say, like, cool, we're in the Ravens sense. Like, you don't want to go, we're giving away our 2 first-round picks. You watch him do a workout. You go through the physical. You get tested, everything, and see something. I don't know, something pops up on the physical, and you don't want you definitely don't want the buyer's remorse, but you really don't even want to get it to the point of like, hey, is that worth it? Like for 2 first-round picks? Like now that we're seeing this, like is he legit passing his physical here? And so you can see it back out. But as Anthony and I we've been discussing for a while now, like the price has to drop. So at some point, that failed physical, because Max is going to play. Like at some point this year, even if it's not taking a little longer than people want, and give him the rest. If you have that luxury, like Anthony was saying earlier, you still have Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith. And if worst case scenario, you got the trade done, Max is here and it's not right and all that other stuff, sure, just let him rest for a bit. Nakobe didn't come back till week 5, right? I mean, and he played phenomenal after that. And his injury was like much worse, just historically much worse than what Maxx Crosby's dealing with. So, I think it just depends. It's not a dumb question at all, but it just depends on the team and how much you're giving up ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to come down to what that team's medical staff thinks of like whatever injury they're dealing with. Or sometimes there wasn't a player, like the player didn't undergo a surgery or anything like that, and all of a sudden something else pops up, right? So it seems like in this case, it was probably the knee injury that he had and the surgery that he underwent, which makes it even more odd in a way because that was all public information, right? So it's not like the Ravens were blindsided by this news where it's like, wait, your knee you had a knee injury? Like, what's going on here? So it just comes down to maybe it wasn't as minor as they were initially led on to thinking, and it could be take him time, and maybe he's not ready for training camp. Maybe he misses a month or two of the regular season. Who knows? But it certainly doesn't help the Raiders now as far as negotiations elsewhere with Maxx Crosby. So according to multiple reports, the Cowboys are now backing out. So we'll see. Maybe my prediction of them being able to get a first round pick is completely wrong, and they might have to settle for next to nothing, or they just kind of figure things out and he returns to Las Vegas, right? But it's going to be crazy. And just one more thing, because we were just talking about it as far as the Josh Sweat news. Bird Gang Travel Club, which I guess is some type of Cardinals kind of fan club, or they quoted Johnny Venerable, who's the reputable Cardinals writer that was mentioned in the chat earlier. The quote is, "When Jonathan Gannon got fired, Josh Sweat asked to be traded." So we don't know if that's going to come to fruition and he's going to be traded elsewhere, but another potential edge target for the Eagles in negotiations for a trade.
That is very interesting. Okay. Who knows? We've seen reunions in the past, not of the trading sort of the C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which I was going to bring up, but maybe there's an opportunity there.
Fred Johnson?
That's true.
The defensive
a little cheaper,
Fred Johnson
but
trade?
yes,
Yeah.
little
Just a little bit.
It sounded like Jacksonville was like, yeah, we don't really want him too much. You can have him for next to nothing. But shout out Fred though. Shout out Fred. He's got some good film out there that he's retweeting from 2 years ago. Dylan with a 5. My first round dream is Akeem Messidor or McNeil Warren. Also, my OG super chat was okay. I got the comment, but I think you said the super chat. You're the best, dude. Appreciate that. Yeah, no way we roll with Missy Elliott after last year, right? Yeah. Did talk about that, but first round dream. We've talked about McNeil Warren. There's a possibility, a safety spot if they've moved on from Reed, maybe. Feels like, as we've continued to say though, offensive line is the potential. I will say, if nothing else, I'm glad that like Tariq Woolen is the move here, so that we can stop with. Cause I've seen an inordinate amount of mock drafts that have the Eagles taking a corner.
Yeah, very odd to me.
It's crazy. It's ridiculous.
But regarding Akeem Messidor, a player that I love, just like you want to talk about like power and kind of the pass rushing ability that he has, and even against the run, a much older prospect, but I think he's still going to be probably picked before the Eagles range. And Emmanuel McNeil Warren is a guy that I've mocked to the Eagles now twice, I believe. In one of my original mock drafts, I had him going in the second round. Now it seems like he's going to be a lock for the first round. And I believe my most recent mock draft, I had him going to the Eagles in the first round or with one of their first round picks because they traded A.J. Brown in the mock draft. So a lot of fun, different possibilities. But between him and Dylan Thieneman, two very talented safety options for the Eagles in that back end of the first round.
If they want their exciting whites, Dylan's there. Just saying. It's who knows, Just put it out there. The sequel is never as good as the original, but unless actually feel free if you have and this is going to get off on a totally different topic, but movies related. What is a better sequel? Feel free to enter that in the comment section. I'm curious. What's a better sequel than the original? It doesn't happen very often, but if anything comes to mind, as we're getting to these other super chats. So now it's completely off the rails. The Eagles and movie topics. Han Solo. Speaking of movies, like Han Solo, 5 bomb here. Hey fellas, I think Howie should offer them our first round pick since other teams will be lowballing. First round might get it done. If we go down that hypothetical that Anthony just played with the HA scenario, not impossible.
Yeah, I think first round pick. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, would you say? Okay, there's a lot of these here: Avengers Endgame, Bad Boys, Aliens, Terminator 2, Evil Dead, Scary Movie 2, Godfather Part 2. Yeah, I could see. Okay, I could see some of those. The original Godfather. We're gonna get too. Some people say Godfather Part. I'm not one of those. I get it, but the original is the best. Okay, there's more than I expected. What I was gonna ask you though is Maxx Crosby, percentage wise, because we have to do it at some point, and so before I forget, percentage that the Eagles acquired Maxx Crosby at one point was 0. You didn't say officially a 0, but when the news broke of the Ravens trade and all, it's over. That's 0. Like it's over. Where are you at now? Just as of right now, knee-jerk reaction percentage that the Eagles get Maxx Crosby.
I mean, I'm not going to go anywhere near like a favorable percentage. I'll
I
go
was
with
gonna say,
20%, right? Like I feel like
okay,
they're going
that's
to be
still
probably one of a couple teams. It feels like they were already reportedly one of a couple teams to be in the mix for him. And I don't think the Eagles will be deterred by like a bad medical because, as we mentioned, they have Nolan Smith, they have Jalen Hunt. They're going to make other additions on the edge, even if they have to wait. I don't think they would mind like having to do so. And Maxx Crosby himself seems pretty comfortable because he just shared a picture on his Instagram story of him with his feet up on it looks like a private jet. So a lot of national NFL reporters are now sharing that screenshot. So maybe he's on a flight to Philadelphia. Who knows where that point is? Who knows where
Actually,
that
you know,
plane is going?
someone I think posted that the other day. Max was seen in an airport in Philadelphia, and he looked strangely like Larry Fitzgerald, but I promise you it was Maxx Crosby. Alex with 2. Makuba will fill the void if healthy. Well, he's the other safety, so I mean, like he's out there. You got to get another one though. But like, yes, he should be healthy, assuming that he is. Reports are that he's very much trending in the right direction. That the ankle surgery and taking care of that. But yeah, I would expect so. Really quickly off on that tangent for the movies. Remo said Godfather movies are free on YouTube right now. If you want to watch, free YouTube movie section is actually really good. Okay, little more information. The more you know. Go check those out if you haven't. If you haven't watched The Godfather, then what are you doing? Yeah, with a 5. AJ for Crosby straight up. 2 birds with 1 stone. Going with that approach.
That would be certainly something, right? It's like but I mentioned it on Twitter after adding Tariq Woolen from a financial standpoint. It just does not seem possible for the Eagles to trade AJ Brown now before June 1st. I think it's a very real possibility after June 1st, but they basically had just enough cap space to where they would be able to take on that extra dead cap hit by trading him before June 1st and being able to make like very small moves and like sign their draft class. But now after adding Tariq Woolen for like up to 15 million, so we still don't know the exact contract details. It's probably still enough. It feels like the Patriots signed Romeo Doubs, right? And then all of a sudden the Eagles made 3 signings, right? So it almost seems like maybe there were negotiations about AJ Brown where they had to kind of freeze that cap space and weren't able to do anything. But now that the Patriots pivoted in a different direction for now, because like I said, after June 1st, his contract becomes a lot more tradable as far as the cap hits. But so yeah, I don't think that's going to happen now, but it would be fun to maybe see that happen after June 1st. But I don't see them holding on to Maxx Crosby that much longer. They're going to try and resolve this situation, I think, as quickly as possible.
Max knows he's getting out of there. Thus the Instagram post. He's not too worried. It seems like he'll be.
So does he have to record a whole nother 12-minute goodbye to the Raiders fans? Because he posted that on his.
Just
so that's
just save
awkward.
it and repost the video. As soon as it does, like, hey, try it again. Like Rashawn
I
Gary.
feel like he had like purple lights in the background, I think too. So is he gonna have to change the lights in the background to like whatever team color he's gonna get traded to?
It says like almost the exact same thing verbatim. It's just different lights on the background. I mean, Rashawn Gary, he had to do that.
Yeah,
apparently he was hacked.
That's a whole.
He was hacked.
Whole nother story.
So whenever
Eagles news, not really Eagles news, but former Eagles quarterback Sam Howell, according to Adam Schefter, signed a 1-year deal with the Cowboys. So another Eagles free agent is going elsewhere. So
interesting.
An Eagles player going to the Cowboys, but it's not Nakobe Dean or Reed Blankenship. So I think Eagles fans will be just fine in that regard.
They wanted to steal one of our players, so they felt like Sam Howell would be the one to get it. Yeah, gotcha. Good for you guys. Great. Good luck, Sam. Dallas didn't say no. Some of those are saying yes. There's the debates on Dallas. The report is, it's just, who knows? But the report is from multiple that apparently Dallas will not be going that direction. But who knows? It's so much posturing and everything else this time of year. But yeah, we already got the 2 birds with 1 stone. The JO2 with anything with Jaylen Carter deal. Oh, question on that. Okay, sorry, I didn't see the no punctuation here, but anything with Jaylen Carter deal getting done. Nothing official. I think, again, talking about posturing, positioning, trying to negotiate this thing out. Both sides. Yeah, I would imagine from kind of reading the tea leaves, Drew Rosenhaus and Jaylen Carter are wanting a lot of money because of the potential that JC brings. And Howie and the Eagles are going, okay, we think you can be that, but you also haven't proven it yet, so we need to see it. But otherwise, we haven't heard anything. I know that Jaylen Carter has been rumored around like, oh, the Eagles are shopping him or they're open to trading him and all this other stuff. But kind of like Anthony was alluding to earlier, I could definitely see it as a negotiation tactic to gather a little info, go back to JC's camp, perhaps. It's all speculative, but perhaps go back to the camp and say, well, this is all that, teams are kind of willing to offer for you. Or this is all they kind of want. So here's the current markup or the market, just kind of in general. And maybe it makes them bet on themselves, but nothing official in terms of numbers or very, very soon imminent news. John with a 2, appreciate that. Hitting that McAllen, huh?
That was about your shot, I believe, with Nolan Smith.
Yes, yep. It was not that, but I think it was.
You're like, I don't think it was that. If I don't remember.
It was. I'm trying to think what it was now. I know it wasn't that. It was. 1942. Yeah. Blacked out for a second after a couple of them, but then golf again. Like I said, the golf started being better, so that's what I need. Dylan with a 5. Anyone else think the D line with the D line of Davis, Carter, Ojimo, Smith, and Smith, the sack production is kind of underwhelming with a question mark. Last one to produce sacks was Reddick. I mean, they won a Super Bowl with. I mean, I know that Sweaty was there, but like he played like lights out in the Super Bowl, but. I think they can get it done. They had more sacks last year than the Super Bowl year, regular season wise.
I think they're still going to make at least 1 or 2 additions on the edge, right? I don't think they're just going into next season with Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt because they did that last season, right? And they ended up having to trade for Jalen Phillips. So there's more moves to come. I know it's kind of been underwhelming as far as the sack production goes, but if you just look at the unit as a whole, it's one of the better ones in the league. And the way they're able to play the run while also being able to, if they're not getting sacks, they're still putting pressure on the quarterback, right? Which obviously helps the secondary. Sometimes they play off the secondary where they have more time to rush because the secondary is so good behind them. And that should only get better with Tariq Woolen replacing, unfortunately, my boy Adoree Jackson at outside cornerback. So I think the Eagles will be just fine up front, and there's still more moves to come.
That there are. Lots of moves that they got. And I mean, if they went with, in terms of the edge, I think the interior is more solidified, but still, like you say, the rotation wise. But if they go with Nolan Smith and Jaylen Hunt as the starters, that's still more than capable. And especially if you add to the rotation, like you're mentioning there, I mean, it doesn't have to necessarily be. It would be better, I guess, more ferocious of a pass rush. Sure, if you add a guy like a healthy Maxx Crosby to the rest of the unit there, absolutely. But even if you're going with Nolan Smith, Jaylen Hunt as the starters, and you add, let's say, a Kayvon Thibodeau, and he's just another rotational guy, right? And he plays a decent amount of the snaps, but you're giving guys rest and whatnot. I think it could be a very formidable front. And again, as you're saying, pass rush in tandem with the coverage can play a huge factor. So I'm not concerned at the moment. Sure, we could go down the line and maybe it needs to be bolstered, but I think it will be. I mean, Howie usually learns from his mistakes, and I doubt he's going to go, okay, well, we didn't have Jalen Phillips. He's moving on. Let's not wait till the trade deadline to say, well, gosh, we need to get somebody else, right? Bring in Zadarius Smith early on in the season. Try to, I don't know, almost panic buy at that point. But Gonzalo with a 5. I'm sure this has been answered, but do you see Dallas coming back? I don't think we got to Dallas Goedert yet, but any chance for DG?
Yeah, I feel like the door is still slightly open for that, but I would lean towards him moving on. I feel like the tight end market as a whole hasn't necessarily been like as pricey and expensive as many anticipated, and I think the fact that they added both Grant Calcaterra and Johnny Mundt could kind of spell the end for Dallas Goedert. I feel like now they brought back one guy in Grant Calcaterra that they're familiar with. They'll bring back Mundt, who's an outside addition, but he did actually play with Sean Mannion on 2 different teams. He was with Chris Cooper in Minnesota, so there's some familiarity there, but I just feel like they want to go. It feels like a good time for both Dallas Goedert and the Eagles to move on, whether it's they draft somebody early in this year's draft or if they add like a David Njoku or a Chigakonkwo or somebody like that, Jonnu Smith, Will Dissly. Like there's all these different kind of veteran starting tight ends that are out there, but if they let Dallas Goedert walk, I don't think they're just done at tight end, right? They're going to have to make more additions.
Yep. We please do not have. They won't, but please do not have Grant anywhere close to the tight end one. He can't be. He needs to be a lot closer to like tight end 3, 4, 5,
4,
6, 7. Not
team
on the roster. Yes, that's where we're both going to. Yeah, get somebody else. Let's see. There's Corp with 5 more. Howie is going to help his guys out. Spytech, Brandon Hunt, and Patch. He'll throw them a life raft. I see a second and a third next year as the price for Crosby. That wouldn't be too bad. I mean, I'd be all right with that. If that ends up being the price, you don't even give up a first.
Yeah, I mentioned that earlier. Like, I feel like ideal compensation now would be like 2 day 2 picks. Whether you want to mix it up between this year and next year, you can do. They have an extra 3rd round pick in both years, so you can do a 3rd this year and a 3rd next year, or a 3rd this year, a 2 next. Like, however they want to work it out. But I think that would be like the ideal solution, and it would be crazy to see the Eagles let Jaylen Phillips walk. He gets $30 million a year, and you replace him with Maxx Crosby, who after restructuring his contract is probably making significantly less than what Jaylen Phillips would have made in 2026. So that's a crazy possibility to think about, but maybe it's possible now.
Kind of like the in a way, not the exact same at all, but in a way, like the Saquon move and the cap hit whenever he came over. Got him from free agency there. You know, it obviously free agent versus trade, but still, like getting in Maxx Crosby and going like, wait, what's the cap hit? You got to be kidding me. That's what the number is for that single year? It's kind of nuts. Young Ghost with a 2. Wesley Steinberg said Crosby was popped for Fent. Well, that's Wesley Steinberg, so you've been had, sir, if you're believing any of that. There's a lot of parody accounts out there. Be vigilant. Fraud is real.
There's another one out there now, and
I know
they work with that one.
And they tag off of each other. It's like per so and so, and then you click on it, and you're like, oh, that's an NFL icon. It's a verified profile and looks legit. Yeah, that's beware. You probably caught that, I would hope, but if you didn't, that definitely not real. Frank from Philly, what's up with a 2? Are we keeping AJ and try for Max? I don't know. Maybe so. I think they will try for Max. The AJ one. It's going to continue to be around until, it's a problem because of the whole June 1st topic that you shared a second ago. It's and somebody I think said this a moment ago in the comments, but it's not, obviously you can do a post June 1st designation for cutting someone, but you can't do it for trading. So you're waiting until that moment to say, okay, now potentially something could happen. But yes, the frustration I'm sure will be if nothing gets done, it'll drag on. It might die down a little bit. So there's not as much like, daily speculation or weekly updates, but you get to June 1st, you get past June 1st. If he's still here and the Raiders are trying to move Crosby or the Patriots haven't brought in another wide receiver and it's like, well, is Romeo Dobbs going to be wide receiver 1? It'll heat back up again and go, wait a second, what's going to happen here? They're going to get a trade done. So it's not going to go away. No, probably anyway. No time not anytime soon. DKT with a 10. I also think we should definitely try to move a player like McKee or Sidney Brown. Anthony said a second ago, Sidney Brown and I forgot what the draft pick. Sidney Brown and a third round pick, second round pick. Let's do a third and Sidney Brown for Maxx Crosby. That one seems fair. Force the trade, move on.
That's it. Sign me up.
We're playing on Madden with the sliders just turned on to the forced trade option. Paco with the 2. Are some of these contracts going to age like milk? If you're talking about the free agent pool in general, I think absolutely. I think you tweeted, didn't you, the NBA comparison? You were like, oh, this is like the 2016. Yes. Yeah. There, some of the, I mean, it happens every year. So I guess you could say, well, yeah, but duh, like it always, but man, some of these guys, they're getting paid. They pay a lot of money. A lot of money.
Yeah. There's going to be some Timofey Mozgov and Luol Deng and Joe Kim Noah looking contracts out there that, that Alec Pierce one to start. I know it's like an up and coming wide receiver, especially like a white guy. It's like, oh, he's actually pretty good. Like, no, he's actually great. And sorry, I just don't see it. I think that contract is going to look terrible a year or 2 from now. And It's I don't understand paying him that amount of money. I thought he is like a good wide receiver too at best, but they're paying him like he's a top 10, top 15 wide receiver in the NFL. Like that's crazy to me. And I feel like Devontae Smith is sitting at his house like, these guys are getting what? Like Wan'Dale Robinson is getting what?
Yeah,
And I'm over here getting 20 million a year or whatever it was. Like, so that's kind of the risk it is they take of signing these contract extensions a little bit earlier than they necessarily have to. But it feels like with the way the cap rises every year, it feels like the market gets reset almost every year as well.
It's definitely kind of the I'm sorry, I missed one of the milestone chats, but yeah, it's one of those where you're thankful for Howie getting some deals done whenever he does, and ahead of time, right? Because like you take advantage of it. All of a sudden, it's like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of money, but how quickly it turns over and the cap increasing and everything else there. So I would 100% agree with you that Smitty is sitting there like, are you serious? Like what's going on with this money here? You know, to be able to get paid. But he got the money up front and the signing bonus. So you know, he got it early on, but I'm sure it's got to be difficult sitting there seeing some of the other contracts. And like you said, no offense to Alec Pierce or some of the others that got contracts, but it is very, very high. Fanny, I'm sorry, I missed the milestone message. I'm sorry about that. Again, not intentional, but if you comment again in the comment section, I'll try to throw that up there. But it is expired for me on the other side of the stream, so I don't know why that's set up that way, but I can't see it. But if you comment, I'll mention it. That's my bad. Okay, going through several more super chats. How are you doing, by the way? Because you're an hour later.
I'm good.
You good? Okay, because this has gone on longer than we initially planned or scheduled for. I'm good too, but I just want to make sure.
The kids are still asleep.
We're turning through.
That's all that matters on my end. We're doing good so far. If that changes,
I don't want to get
and I leave, you know why.
That's fair. That is fair. Let's see. We got one from Dr. Doom with a 2. Only way we go for Crosby is if Dallas has a shot. They have a shot technically, but they're reportedly not going to go after him. But it's like, what do you believe these days? Until there's official contract signed, we're past the date of, like it is legit for the Wednesday moves that have officially been like submitted to the league office and it's done. Could it even be posturing? The Dallas sitting out it's not like it's not like necessarily Diana Rossini's reporting something false, but just something she was told. But would Dallas be like, yeah, we're out, like we're not going to be Maxx Crosby. Next thing you know, Dallas trades for Maxx Crosby. Okay, well, try to swoop
quick
in there. Yes.
A bunch of national reporters are sharing a tweet from Maxx Crosby's agent now that just went out, CJ LeBoy. He said, Max continues to be on track in his recovery, and if anything is ahead of schedule, according to his surgeon, Dr. Neil Atrache, Max remains on track to return during the offseason program and will undoubtedly return as the dominant game wrecker he has been these past 7 seasons. So, shocker, Maxx Crosby's agent thinks his client is still going to be a really good player. So, take that for what it's worth, but he kind of has to do that in a way.
Interesting, very interesting. I mean, you don't think he's like keeping it above board, completely honest, and there's no doubt at all
part of me does wonder. He is. This might be another kind of a conspiracy theory of mine, but the fact that they do have this negotiating window now where they can talk to players and do these Zoom meetings, that's a new rule this year where they can talk to the players. Before they only could talk to the agents. They couldn't talk to anybody else, right? But
James Franklin, Saquon
Barkley. I wonder if because of how early this Maxx Crosby trade got done, if now the Ravens almost got like a little bit nervous where they were doing like their work in the back channels and they're like, wait, instead of giving up 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby, we can just get Trey Hendrickson for a 2-year, $50 million deal or something like that. We don't have to give up. Because you have to think they're kind of thinking of this window similarly to how the Eagles are operating, where they have this Super Bowl ready roster, right, with an MVP quarterback that they're trying to maximize. Maybe you don't have to give up because the Ravens historically aren't a team that trades first-round picks, right? They're like the opposite.
They're drafters. They're trying to acquire. Yeah.
So maybe they're thinking like, listen, we like after a couple of days, like we can use the physical as the reason for like backing out, but maybe they kind of just got cold feet and we're like, listen, we can just pivot to signing a Trey Hendrickson or signing somebody else in free agency, or Bradley Chubb or whoever else they can possibly think of, or maybe they fell in love with a draft prospect or have another trade worked out. So maybe it'll damage the Ravens' kind of reputation around the league because of the way that they did this. But in the grand scheme of things, maybe they have this other option that they just, over the past 2 days or so, found that they liked more without having to give up 2 first-round picks for Maxx Crosby.
Somebody said earlier that the Raiders may never trade the Ravens again. And if it was the case of just only like cold feet and not like a for sure legit like serious physical concern, then I'm sure the Raiders would be a whole lot less inclined, unless it just made 100% sense to make a trade. Yeah, the next time, if and when they ever got a call from the Ravens, it might not go so well. Like, nah, forget about it. Like, we're not even going to hear from you guys. It would rub some people the wrong way, I'm sure, because, again, the only thing that they're not getting the 2 first-round picks, but it's like compounds the issue. They're not getting those. The player wants out, and the team has to move him. The only thing that's happened is the price has decreased for anybody else who's going to be able to try to trade for Maxx Crosby. So, yeah, I'm right there with everybody who's suggesting that. The Raiders, there's no love lost for the Ravens at this point. Frank from Philly with 5 more. Ravens are not taking Max now, an Eagles signed tight end Johnny Mundt. Yes, Mundt Cakes is apparently the nickname. I don't know. Thoughts on the tight end? Are we going to keep Dallas or not? Nothing has been said much. Yeah, we kind of mentioned it a second ago, but again, I'm getting to these in order, so you probably caught that one. We did, like you say, brought in Johnny Mundt. There will be some sort of tight end. I don't know if it's Dallas Goedert necessarily, but there's got to be another answer besides your I don't know, your 2-man tag team of tight end 2. I don't know what to call Johnny and Grant Calcaterra, but they're like half tight ends. So at the moment we have one whole tight end signed to the roster.
I'd expect them to add at least 2 more tight ends, whether it's free agency or the draft. I think that's at least the amount of tight ends they're going to add on top of the 2 that they signed today.
Yeah. Let's see. Fanny, did you comment? I'm just trying to keep track because I know I missed the milestone. Double checking. Trying to go in order. Okay. I see Anthony won for the comment there, but I don't think that was the original one. If you have something, Fanny, that let me know. I'm seeing some other comments in the chat, but I missed that milestone. Corporate with 5 more. Appreciate that. Sounds like a classic case of buyer's remorse. Of course, he won't pass a physical after he had surgery on his meniscus 3 months ago. LOL. Ravens dirty. That's what I would lean to as well. Probably some last second regret or some doubt creeping in. Nalu with 2. Grant Calcaterra must have dirt on Howie. Go Birds. It's got to be something.
Or Jalen Hurts just loves him because they did play, I believe, for a season or 2. I think a season at Oklahoma, right? So maybe that relationship is just so much of a big deal for the Eagles that they just have to keep him around. Jalen Hurts was like, listen, you could do anything this offseason, but I need my guy Grant Calcaterra back, even though I barely ever throw to him. But
yeah, what is he doing?
I mean, I'm just trying to cope with this unfortunate news.
Yeah.
So.
Maybe Grant is Jalen's emotional support teammate. I don't know. He needs one of those. Where's Grant? Somebody get Grant. Go sit next to Jalen. It doesn't make any sense. I'm with you and everybody else here in the chat. Darth with 5. I'm late, so with the Riq signing, no cornerback in the first round? Question mark. That would, yeah, I'd be shocked now. I would have been really surprised even before, but that's like, dare I say, impossible. But that's not really going to happen. Also, what's the need now? Omar Cooper, top 30 visit. That's right. Yes. Which, speaking of, Anthony DiBona got the phillyspecialshow.com top 30 tracker, which you should save. He also tweeted it out. So either bookmark that or go to the phillyspecialshow.com and save the bookmark there, have it on the tabs, whatnot. Frequently visit it because it will be updated as the visits come in. And you can check along as well as the Dallas Cowboys, who will be checking that list like they did last year. And probably a lot of other teams. But whoever the Eagles bring in, Omar Cooper is one of those, and I believe it was the first official top 30 visit that was reported in. Sometimes it's odd or hard to know exactly like sequentially who they spoke with or who they brought in, but it's somewhat noteworthy that they're meeting with a wide receiver for the first player.
Yeah, I mean, especially a wide receiver in Indiana, wide receiver Omar Cooper Jr., who's projected to be a first round pick, right? So if we're talking about the possibility of an AJ Brown trade after June 1st, I know nobody wants to talk about it, but just throwing it out there, it is a little curious that one of their 30 visits is going to be with one of the first round like wide receiver projected players, right? So a lot more to come in that'll come in over the next month or two, and I have both a meeting tracker, which is just all of the reported meetings, whether they were at the combine or Senior Bowl, whatever the case was. I have all of those that have been reported in there in a graphic. And then for the 30 visits, I'll have those listed with more of like a description for each player, what type of player they are, their height, weight, things like that, and the source that reported that as well. So two different trackers, but I think you should, I recommend that you bookmark both and keep track of them, no pun intended, leading up to the NFL draft. And also randomly, apparently Bam Adebayo has scored 83 points tonight. It's just a wild night tonight. I know this is obviously
What?
the Eagles channel.
It's but like,
yes,
hang on.
I just got an alert. It says NBA's all-time record for points in a single game. 1, Will Chamberlain with 100 points. 2, Bam Adebayo with 83 points, and then 3, Kobe Bryant with 81 points. So we've always joked about talking NBA on here, so I figured I would just throw that out there.
What's happening?
I don't
How
know.
is that possible? I'm seeing that now as well. Wow. Okay. Well,
He's taken 43 shots. He has made 20 of his 43 shots, including 22 3-pointers. So
I mean, it's not like, I don't know, it's not ridiculous. It's not the best percentage either. I guess at some point, volume, you're going to score. That's insane. Oh, Darth mentioned it too. Okay, we had some people actually tracking, like, hey, look, what's up?
I saw
ridiculous.
the chat, and then I got the Twitter alert from Sham Sharanya. So
Gary, he had 62 at the end of the third. So he dropped. I guess at that point though, if you've got 62, you're just going to try to go for it, So he scored what is that? 21 in the fourth. If he had 62 at the end of the third, he scored 21 points in the fourth. Well, that's ridiculous. I'm kind of speechless, honestly. I couldn't even do that in 2K with Bam. You can't even do that on a video game. It's too difficult to. Yeah. Sorry, not to get so sidetracked and off topic, but yeah, I have no idea. I'm gonna have to watch the highlights of that. Now I'm curious afterwards. I'm gonna have to check that out. It's Andre Hall with a 5. I don't get all this trade AJ BS. Dude was right about the horrendous offense. Nick and Kevin cobble together, but AJ has to go. Keep Arthur 1. Well, he can be right about the offense, which he was, but if he ends up getting traded, the only thing that tells me is that AJ, and again, it's all hypothetical right now. It's all speculative. But if he gets traded, it tells you all you need to know that AJ didn't want to be there anymore. So it's not the sense of like the Eagles going like, "I get out of here." Like you were bad mouthing the offense. We don't want you. No, it's either AJ wants to be here, and if he's totally bought in, they're going to keep him. But if it's reached the point of he's like, nope, you need to get rid of me. I need to move on. I'm going somewhere else. Then Howie's doing as much as he can to get value. And if it makes sense, he'll trade him. If it doesn't, then he can go and, at least make the case that he tried his best to get rid of AJ. But it's not a, hey, we're just getting rid of him because he was talking about it. They realized how bad the offense was. They fired Kevin Patullo eventually. So whether it took them too long or they were just saying, this is the bed we've made, and we're just going to wait until the season ends, whenever that is. It's not for a trading AJ just to totally get rid of him and he wants to be here.
Yeah, exactly. This entire situation we've both said that the Eagles trading away AJ Brown does not make them a better football team, right? It just simply comes down to, can they repair whatever issues happened last season? I think it was beyond the Kevin Patullo issue. It seems like there were other things going on, but it's just going to come down to, like you said, does AJ Brown want to be here? If he doesn't, and the reports have shown that his agent has spoke to other teams at the combine, and like he might have a list of teams that he wants to play for or quarterbacks that he wants to play for. Like, you're not doing that if you're happy somewhere, right? Like clearly that means he's
Right.
not happy in Philadelphia, or at least would entertain the possibility of leaving Philadelphia. So to me, that means he's not 100% bought in. And in that scenario, I don't know if he can return to the Eagles after June 1st, when they're going to be able to make the trade a little bit easier. So to me, I still think it's only a matter of time. People hate me for saying that. People think the media are just creating this narrative, even though everything that AJ Brown did both on and off the field last season pointed to him being unhappy in Philadelphia and possibly wanting out. So I understand ignorance is bliss. People want to pretend that everything is perfectly fine, and AJ Brown is 100% happy, but I'll remain speculative of that, especially until June 1st and a little bit after that.
I agree. Yep. And hopefully, look, like you said, if he's still here, it's great. Big AJ fan, even individually. Like, I've got an AJ Brown jersey. If he's totally locked in, he wants to be here. See,
I have an AJ Brown Funko Pop right there.
There you go.
So not an AJ Brown hater
not
in
anything
any way at
personal,
all.
but yeah,
It's just reading the tea leaves.
that is what it is. Fanny with a 5. Hey, Josh and Ant-Man. I was being funny. I asked, was Brett Toth still around?
Is Jeff
pile
Salmon
on,
still
I
going to be
think,
around?
with the
Because then I think
Yeah.
Brett Toth will be around. That was his boy. So
I think to pile on with the Grant Calcaterra. In all fairness, Brett did play better last year, so he was able to step up. I guess comparatively, we weren't getting near as much of what we should have from a Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson, but played better, serviceable, passable at times. But yeah, the combination of those two been a little frustrating at times. So I don't think Brett will make it back around, but I didn't think Grant Calcaterra would either, and he's here. So
now nothing's off the table,
say
unfortunately.
never. It's not. Green Wingman with a 5. Nice pickup of Riq Woolen. Here's to no PTSD of Byron Maxwell. Oh my gosh, he had to bring that up. It's fair. It's a fair point.
I almost sent the tweet that was like,
Did you?
the Eagles probably hope that this former Seahawks cornerback that won a Super Bowl in Seattle pans out better in Philadelphia than Byron Maxwell did. But I didn't want to dampen the mood. I didn't want to bring everybody down.
Thank you for not dampening.
The Eagles already did a good enough job of that by re-signing Grant Calcaterra. So.
That they did. Imagine the Seahawks signed Josh Jobe. So, look, I hope it works out for them because they eventually got an Eagles cornerback. He played well this past season. Obviously, a reason why he's getting re-signed. But Josh Jobe, so it's only right. We get their corner. It works out for us, and Josh Jobe works out for them. It could be a win-win for both teams. So
I think the Eagles will be happy with that hypothetical trade.
I hope so. I hope it works out. I think it will. I'm excited about the potential. At least you have, if Howie couldn't get the pass rush, and who knows, we'll see about Maxx Crosby. But if he couldn't get the pass rush at the time, because Jaylen Phillips was the big move they wanted, they were trying to do what they could, but obviously $30 million, way too much to go into Carolina. Then you pivot a little bit. You say, yes, we're still going to do something for the pass rush, but it's a combo effect. You do have to have obviously the secondary for coverage, so you can kind of negate a little bit of weaknesses, or if there's a little bit of an area of need, bolster the secondary. And out of the options available, I think it's a great move. Plus, like you shared kind of when we opened this thing, a lesser expected, lesser contract of sorts because it wasn't immediately publicized, which is usually agents very proud of the offer that they were able to acquire, getting shared.
Oh, wait. Good timing.
Do we have it?
No, according to Dave Zingaro, former Eagles offensive lineman Brett Toth has agreed to terms with the 49ers on a 1-year deal.
Oh, I thought you were about to say that he was – I'm waiting on that team. Oh, my gosh. I was about to just end the stream.
Sorry.
Just, hey, it's a late Tuesday night. Just slip that in right there. Brett Toth coming back to Philly. Okay, all right. That's better. Very interesting. All right. We can move on from it. It is, actually.
Fanny just asked about
we've
Brett
had
Toth.
I think 3 topics on this stream that as we've been talking about, it's like, oh, hey, there's Diane Rossini about the Maxx Crosby in Dallas, and it's fun. You just get, it's a slow feed of information. You keep the notifications and tweets
Which
on.
means no sleep because I'm just constantly refreshing Twitter on my phone. Unfortunately,
That's true. That is very true. Truth be told, I did have a Maxx Crosby video planned for Saturday before I headed out. You know this. And then the Ravens made the trade, and I was like,
so maybe it was you that did all
screw
this.
you, Baltimore. And then
That's
they
right.
back
Now we
out.
can
So
repurpose-
now
we can repurpose that now.
it's exactly. For people wondering, the thumbnail on tonight's live stream was the one that was intended for the video on Saturday because there was the potential of the Eagles, and it didn't happen. But, we got to repurpose it, got to use it in a different way. So, let's see. I think that was the last super chat. I'm making sure that I did. Oh, some people. Yeah. Frank says, "Thank God, bye Toth. Good luck, buddy." There's lots of excitement there. I think there was some doubt for a second of like, what team are you about to say? Is like Dave Zingaro breaking the news? You could come back to the Eagles, but He'll go to the Niners with Mike Evans. See, I knew it was only gonna take out a couple seconds. We don't wish injuries on anybody at all by any means. But Drama Alert says the 49ers are not going to make it 3 weeks out of the season if they don't play somewhere else near that electrical substation. And some people were posting things about Mike Evans' hamstring and being that close to the substation. Who knows what? There's something there. You know, it seems like there's too much. I don't know. Do we call it evidence? I guess.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. Like that.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, there's something there, sure, but yeah. 12:50. I thought you would tell us an important news update like signing Goedert. No, sorry. Unfortunately.
You're not here for Brett Toth news? That's not what you're watching.
Darth said Toth was a better center than Cam. He was, unfortunately.
Yeah, honestly, Brett Toth the center was significantly better than Brett Toth the guard. So, but they have Drew Kendall. I think they'll be. Cam Jurgens went out of the country and got some special magic done. So we'll see what happens.
Speaking of, actually, and hopefully that does the trick. The stem cell treatment, I think, was the
and then I think Landon Dickerson went too.
I was going to say he went to Columbia, and was it ever reported that he got the treatment, or I saw?
I believe it was the same place.
He was there.
They both like in the video. It's like a promotional thing. They like sign the little IV bag.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Okay. Okay.
I'm assuming it was the same procedure, whatever it was, but I don't know if it was. I think Zach Berman reported exactly what it was, but
okay, yeah.
I just saw that he went overseas or whatever it was, and I was like, okay, sure.
Well, let's just say if Landon and Cam find the fountain of youth this year or look markedly better, then
watch out.
I think all of the Eagles team needs to just make an annual Columbia trip. You just go get the treatment. You know, if you
or
need
just
it,
hire
great.
those
if
people
you don't,
for the Eagles medical staff.
I mean, yeah,
bring
that's fine too. You know,
no, it's not legal. Whatever they did is not legal in the States, I believe, right? So, which is crazy to think about.
So that's an interesting point that you bring up, because I saw a couple people on Twitter that were saying like, oh, they should have done this with me because I can do it better and safer and all this other stuff, and they were American-based doctors. So, but there's like a fine line, right? Because there's like a parent, and I don't know this because I've never done it, but I'm doing something you shouldn't do. I'm taking people's word for it online because, you know, there's no lies out there.
Dangerous stuff.
But apparently there's tiers to this thing. So I don't know what level of treatment they got, but maybe it was illegal or not offered for some reason in the States. Cheaper. I've heard that it's cheaper, but then you're like, okay, do I really want to like go for the 50% off stem cell treatment? Like, what? Why is that 50% off? I think you would want to go for a safer area, but they went there. I trust that it's vetted out. You know, like Philly's not.
You hope.
I mean, you hope so, but like, you know, I can't imagine that Jeffrey Lurie, whoever it is, you know, is like, hey, the difference, right? If you're like, we don't know if this will work, but we're gonna try it. Or like you could go here and it'd be twice the cost, but this is much safer. I feel like Jeffrey Lurie, especially as an owner, would be like, well, let's figure it out, right? Like we can foot a little bit of the bill, subsidize it, however we need to get things done, because we don't need to risk our, you know, former Pro Bowl. Hopefully we're back to the level, former Pro Bowl level. Even though that doesn't mean anything these days with a Pro Bowl, but you know, like good quality starter. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people know more about this in the chat. So
it's still super sketchy to me, no matter how you want to.
It is. It is. You know, you got to go out of the country to get a procedure done. But the long and the short of it, if they get it done and it works out, then they should just either go annual trip to Columbia or bring him over and have a stem cell treatment day at the facility. All right, get hooked up, buddy.
God.
They have all the players.
That's the secret.
The wheels have come off of this. Like some people, like laser eye surgery. I don't want a coupon on that. Exactly. If we're doing LASIK, don't be telling me like, hey, you do this thing off is super cheap. Like, I want the best of the best. Don't jeopardize any health like that. Okay. I think that was the last of the super chats. Did we miss anything? Is there anything else topic wise that we haven't covered? We've gotten to NBA. It's gotten so far off the rails. Movie sequels, stem cell treatment,
I think we're good.
Illegal
we covered all
drugs.
the bases.
This stream's probably gonna get flagged by the end of this.
Listen.
YouTube's gonna be like, "What the heck?"
People seem to be liking it, so that's all that matters. We're here for everybody here.
It's late and we're delirious, and people are we're falling back on that one. Okay, I do think that we've summarized most everything, unless we have any other reports. And there's a thunderstorm in my area, so it may be a good time to cut it anyway, because otherwise,
there you go.
We're gonna start getting very, very pixelated. Yes, shout out to you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks. John M. with the comment earlier thinking that Maxx Crosby is going to get done. Just kind of a hope and a feeling or a thought. But we'll see. We will see if the Eagles try to go after him, what that price would be, everything else. But we'll keep you guys posted on any news. If there's some big breaking ones back now, of course, because we're here on the stream. But should be regularly scheduled programming. So any big breaking news be going live. Regularly planned videos. Getting some other content done, as well as some giveaways, so stay tuned for that. But as always, you guys are the best. Make sure to like and subscribe. Hit that like button on your way out if you haven't already. We're at 461. We could probably bump it up to 500 before we're on your way out. There's 1,200 people here, and we will see you guys on the next one. Go Birds.
Go Birds.